and you heard only 2 dudes at that party, do you bring more guys or do you bring the ladies? You bring the ladies. You bring the ladies, because why? Those 2 dudes are going to flock to the ladies, and you got the ladies. That's all I'm saying. So at this scenario, if those 2 bulls are talking, I'm going to ease into this situation. Now we got a caller and shooter scenario, and this could work out easily for you. Now, as a solo hunter, I'll talk about that too. As a solo hunter, it's a little different. But I'm still going to bring the ladies in this situation if I was by myself. Go ahead and play it, Adrian. And you can hear these bulls, they're talking to each other. So no need to, oh, sorry about that guy.
No, you good.
No need to get crazy. All you want to do is bring the ladies to the party. Even though the camera's not really picking it up because it's right at that first shooting light. So pause it, Hadrian. So right here, I got a herd bull. Right over here, I got a giant satellite bull. Yes, that herd bull was substantially bigger than that satellite bull, but the satellite bull was probably 315, and the herd bull was probably about a 360 bull. From the distance, from what I could tell. Go ahead and play it. What does my buddy do? I told him bring ladies. He brought another dude to the party. So it messes up the whole dynamic. Pause that, Hadrian. It messes up the whole dynamic of this party. You got these 2 bulls right here, then you probably got some other satellite bulls out there. And for me, hey, listen, I'm all about this. If you're satisfied with that bull, then you take that bull, right? For some people, including myself, love elk meat. So I cannot eat the horns, but I do like seeing those giant horns come through the woods, especially when that worked for you, right? So if your thing is fill the freezer and we're in a, you can shoot spikes in this unit and you want to take that spike, shoot that spike, right? Be satisfied with your hunt and happy with your hunt, because at the very end of the day, it's your tag. It's not the DOW's tag, it's your tag. You bought that tag, you applied for that tag, or you got a chance to go hunt those animals. And if you're going to go into a unit that has a bunch of 340-ish, 360 bulls, and you want to shoot a small 5-point, by all means. But in this situation right here, in order to make this situation work, we have to use cow sounds, and we're not even that far. 160 to this bull, 200 to this bull. So we're not that far from this herd. Now, if I could sound like a bunch of ladies or a mini herd that got away from any of those bulls, and they didn't hear one bull sound from me, what do you think is going to happen? One of those branch satellites are going to come off that herd and come down and check. And that did happen later on. We was not after no satellite bull unless he was big satellite. So he comes past us later on, but in order to bring those bigger bulls in, we could entice them just by using cow sounds. You could play the rest of that. I'll let it play out, and then I'll move on. Now, right then, my buddy, pause it, Hadrian. I started making calls. That's another good point that I want to bring up, because if you can cut those lights back on. Just hit those 2 zones. If you're hunting with a partner and you're the shooter, and he's calling for you, he dropped back 40, 50 yards, maybe 70 yards, depends on if he can see you or not. And you're the shooter. You do not say anything. You let your partner work that bull. Let him work it. Because the minute the shooter makes a noise, so if my buddy Pat was right there and he was the shooter and I was the caller, as soon as he makes a noise, the hang-up location changes. It changes dramatically. Now, I was trying to pull this bull from the other side of that meadow into the wood line that we're in, but he's at the edge of the meadow. Now the hang-up point stays over there. It never came, he never popped out because he could not see any cows on the edge of that wood line. Now I'm back 70 yards. He can't see 70 yards in the woods. He knows I'm inside the wood line. Then maybe his hang-up point was in the middle of that meadow, which was probably only 50 yards from Pat, right? And Pat shot that bull. So you gotta play chess, not checkers. And understand, when I'm with a partner, my partner is the caller and I'm the shooter, and the shooter doesn't say nothing. Now, he doesn't say anything till it's over, right? So if Pat's the shooter and I'm calling, Pat has a diaphragm in his mouth or something, and he gives me 3 elk sounds back to back, then it probably knows it's over. They blew out of there, just something that never worked out. But as the shooter, and you're doing this scenario, never, as the shooter, make a sound. Let your caller work that bull. Okay, on the flip side of things, as a solo hunter, this is usually how I do it. Everybody is a little different, and they could do it any way they want to, but this is very effective. I get into an area. Bull sounds off. Okay, I know where he is. I cut the distance, depending on how far that distance is, what I think it is. So I get to the point where I'm like, man, I can't be but a couple 100 yards from him. Let me check him again. I'm not going to throw a bugle because he sounded off with the cow sounds and calf sounds. I'm going to do the calf sounds and calf sounds again. Cow sounds and calf sounds again. Boom. He's about basically where I thought he was. But from this point, I'm going to move 30 to 40 yards closer to him. And I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a word because he thinks I'm back 30, 40 yards. And I believe it or not, when they sound off and you sound off, they know exactly where you are. I mean within yards. You'll be like, how in the heck did he know I was even over here? So I move forward as a solo hunter. I move forward 30, 40 yards, and I'm waiting and I'm listening. He might crack off another sound. I'm not going to say anything. Depends on how far that distance is. If it increased, then I got to go follow him, play the game a little bit. But if it has decreased and he made another sound, then he's coming. Don't say nothing. Let him come because he's still working off the first calls. Now, once I'm quiet, I'm listening for elk sounds, number one, maybe a tree limb break, little snapping a twig. I'm listening for that. And I'm also, me personally, as a solo hunter, I hunt from my knees. And the reason being is because once I get up to vegetation height, I can't see through that. This is my personal opinion. I can't see through this. But if I'm down, my silhouette's down, I do 2 things. I can see through the bottom of the trees and I'm looking for legs that are coming towards me. And then I'm also bringing my silhouette from being this down to this. So it's like a little kid and a bunch of adults in the room. You see everything in front of you, but you didn't see that little kid, right? It's doing 2 things. That's why I practice for my knees. No, does it feel good? No, it does not feel good. You sit there for a few minutes and you're like, Jesus, I got to get off my knee. And then maybe I got one knee up waiting on this bull. But my point being is if you're solo hunting, it can be very, very challenging, but you have to move out from that location that he heard you and sounded off into something that's closer to him. Of course, the wind being in my favor. But I will tell you, as a solo hunter, it's super hard. But if you can remember that one step, move forward away from your calls, then you'll get him to fire in or come in quiet. Now, I'm telling you, If that doesn't work for you, change locations because there's probably not a lot of bulls in there. Anyways, another thing that I want to point out that on a lot of these seminars that I do, common mistakes, right? Common mistake, and I made this mistake, I promise you, a common mistake is you probably could Google search Jermaine Hodge, elk calling, and you'll see me with this old picture of this duck lanyard. And these things used to do this all the time, right? And I got sick of it. So if you got a favorite open reed, just carry one of those so you don't get no clinking going on. That's a common mistake. I see all the time, and I promise you I was guilty of it, right? Another common mistake is saying, well, I can't bugle these bulls in. I mean, I don't know how to use a bugle tube. I can't use a diaphragm. We make an external reed, and I'm not trying to sell you Phelps, even though I'm with Phelps. You go out and buy what works for you, because some diaphragms and some of these tools that you see here on this table, some of them from other companies make just as good as the quality of these guys, but just not built the same. So on this Easy Bugler, there's a diaphragm in there. So for the ones that don't know how to use the diaphragms, and they make this attachment that goes on here, and it's a reed. It's the same thing that I have in my mouth, but it's on a platform for the ones that can't use the diaphragms. And you could easily interchange that with different reeds. I actually just changed this out to this black reed, this black latex, just today. So it's easy to pop out. You just pop it out, put another one in. They sell them on the market. But so how did I kill most of my bulls at a really young hunting age? I say hunting age, meaning for me it was 2006. I started in 2006, and this worked. So I used that Terminator bugle with that latex on it before Phelps came out with the Easy Bugler, but it's done the same way. So I would locate them. That's all I needed. Hit that high pitch, boom. You get them to crack off, and then I would move in with an open reed or easy sucker. For the ones that wanted it as easy as possible, I would move in, I'd do that same thing, and I was a solo hunter. I would do that same thing. He cracked off with this, I got him to sound off with this, I go down and then back up. So if he didn't crack off when I cut the distance, then I would escalate the call, right? So I started off low, and he sounded off with the bugle tube. Boom, he cracked off. I moved, cut the distance. Boom, that was all I need. I moved my location, 30 yards, and I was successful year in and year out doing just that. Were those some of the herd bulls? No. Those were a lot of satellite bulls. But I was fine with that because you know why? You can't eat the horns, right? You can't eat the horns. And at the end of the day, it's your experience, not your buddy's experience, right? I will tell you this, and this is another story, and I'm going to go down this little bit of rabbit hole. We filmed this hunt, 3 years ago? Yeah, I think 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and it took me 5 points to get that tag. My buddy gets this tag on a reissue list. I'm sick, but later on, if you want to see that bull he shot after this film was filmed, ask him to see that bull. So anyways, I waited for 26 days. My standard was way up here. And as you get running through the woods and get humbled by some of these elk, and they will humble you, your standards start dropping dramatically. And it just so happened that I ended up shooting a 5x5 in this film. Can you fast forward it towards the end before that kill? Just run your thing over that. Help him pack. Yeah, run to the end. I wanted to show you this. I think his bull's on there too. Anyways, so I shoot this bull, which is, when my standards are popped, he at least has to be a branch horn 5 for me to pull the trigger. Otherwise, I won't pull the trigger because I've hunted so much and been around so many big elk that I just want to see a mature bull in my lap. It just didn't happen on this film, and my standards dropped, so I took this bull because at the end of the day, At the end of the day, it was time to put some meat in the freezer. But the very next day, I took my buddy Pat out, and we went into the same drainage, and we had to go up higher because the bulls weren't there anymore, and we had to go up higher. The day after this shot right here, we called in a bull that we didn't know it was going to happen like this. But we run this ridge line, and we got this bull to sound off. He sounded off with cow sounds. I stayed with cow sounds. We called him into our lap. He was 20, then 40 yards, and Pat made a great shot on a 6x7 giant bull that I've been waiting the whole season for, and he made it happen the next day. But that right there topped off the whole story. But this bull right here, this was me lowering my standards. Go ahead and play it. Now Pat's calling for me. He's scared to bugle now. So he said, I'm just doing cow sounds. Now watch where this bull's looking. He's not looking at me. He's looking in the direction where Pat is. Yes, he didn't say nothing. This was a satellite bull. And then I shot that bull at 20 yards. Because he was more so focused on Pat. Go ahead and turn the light back on. He was more so focused on Pat. How much time do I got? Am I good on time?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Okay. He was more so focused on Pat. And that gives you a good example of, like, I don't say nothing. Nothing. Because if I say something, the hang-up location changed dramatically. Now, let me recap everything so you don't miss nothing. And if you did miss something, please raise your hand after I get done, and then I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Put the diaphragm in, latex facing the front, get a good seal. If not, cut it 1/8 of an inch at a time until it seals. When it seals to the top of your mouth, you'll know because you can pull your tongue away from it and it not drop down. Once you get that good seal and you're practicing, you want to make that mosquito sound. Once you get the mosquito sound, then we start adding a little bit more air into it and manipulating the tongue pressure. That's just me using my tongue and a little bit more air, right? So we start off with the calf sounds. The calf sound is cut in half cow sound. We take it out a little further. We want to involve mom. Mom's going to be that mature cow sound. All I'm doing is adding more pressure to it and elongating it a little bit. Each sound is derives off of those cow sounds. So in order to make a location bugle, you have to elongate that cow sound. Without the tube sounds like this. I drop it off the end and add motion to the call. Very important. Add a motion to the call. So it sounds like this through the tube. That's that motion on the back end. Now, we want to add those chuckles in there. Now, there's two different types of chuckles. There's a grunt and a chuckle, right? Now, I didn't talk about that. It's just elongated. It's an elongated cadence, and I'll explain that right now. And your chuckles are left, right, left, right, left, right. Inhale, exhale. Don't have no drinks. Promise you. So, sounds like this. From my diaphragm, I'm using that air and I'm pushing that air across that, making that cadence. Left, right, left, right, left, right. So I add it into the location bull sound, into the chuckle. Those grunt sounds that I was just talking about sounds like this. It's just elongated out. The cadence goes from step, step, step to like 2 steps. That's all it is. Take that cow sound, chop it in half, and then you have a chuckle or a grunt. All we're doing is magnifying it. So whatever tube you like to do that with, that's how you practice that. Now, inhale and then exhale. When you inhale, you're catching your breath. You're catching your breath. Because if you try to blow all these chuckles through this thing without taking a breath, you're going to turn blue and pass out. I promise you. I had something at the top of my head I was just thinking about. Jesus. Man. Anyways, then we added that lip ball. And that lip ball is that sputter of the lips. A little bit more advanced call. As I said before, it's multitasking. I'm taking that cow sound, elongating that cow sound, and adding that sputter to the lips. Location, drop it off. Sounds like this through the tube. That's that big, gnarly herd bull. Probably has about 15, 20 cows. And he's the man. He's displaying and he's screaming. And maybe you pissed him off enough where, I say pissed him off, maybe you got him emotionally attached to you because you threw out some good sounding cow calls. Whatever the case may be, some estrus wine in there. And he got so excited, he just lip balls at you. Perfect time for you to mimic that sound and mark him as, I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna cut you off. That's another good thing that we do, especially in the elk woods when we're talking about the heat of September. Usually I do this a lot throughout the month of September, but it works really effective beginning of September is when those bulls, imagine this. I'm gonna take you into another story and I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole, sorry. Imagine this, high school. This is the first part of the season. I'm gonna break this season down for you, especially September. October, first season rifle, great. You still get a lot of bugling action. There's still a lot of cows out there that still haven't been bred. But let's break September down. So Colorado starts September 2nd, if I'm right, I think I'm right. September 2nd for archery. And then you go from the 2nd to about the 10th. And you still have some of these bulls that are bachelor'd up. They're just not too far from each other. So what I mean by bachelors is you got different age groups, and these groups are pretty close to age. Maybe he's a 5-point, but this one's got a better genetics and he's 6-point. They hang out with each other all summer long. And they start getting that testosterone levels picking up, which is probably going to start right around August 10th through the 15th. And they ventured away, but not too far from my buddy Pat. And I'm raking my horns off and getting the velvet right. I'm talking about that time when I'm just a little further away from Pat, but still can hear him at a distance. And those bulls are still doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be the new kid in high school. The new kid is always the one where he comes in, he don't know nobody, and you start speaking, and everybody's like, man, who's that new kid? Who's that new kid? And they go over there and check him out because he ain't a part of this crew yet. In order for him to be a part of this crew, we got to accept him. But you ain't trying to be accepted. You want him to come over to fight, though, right? So that first part of the season, I use a lot of bugles, And during that season, if he bugles at me, I'll bugle back and cut him off. And nothing pisses somebody off more than actually talking over him. So if I was having a conversation with you, sir, what's your name? Mike. I was having a conversation with Mike. And Mike started talking, and I kept interrupting Mike. It gets irritating. That's what we're trying to do to them bulls. We're trying to irritate them enough to make them come over and see the new kid. That's all we're trying to do. So that usually happens right around that 2nd to the 10th. And then you get that about 11th to like that 17th mark. You can give it takes a few days in there where you're mixing the two sounds up. You're mixing a lot of the cow sounds and a lot of the bull sounds simultaneously, right? You're trying to sound like a herd yourself because a lot of these bulls are searching now. They're in search mode, or the big bulls already got some of these cows, and then you get those satellite bulls trying to check them out and steal a few before all of them come in heat, right? And then the latter part of the season, I'm cow heavy. I'm cow heavy. And that goes over into October too. I'm cow heavy. Now, I'm still bugling and I'm still doing those bull sounds, but not as much as I would as if I'm trying to tell them, I'm ready to be checked. That's all I'm doing. And that's how I break down the month of September and even in the early October. But elk talk year in and year out. And if you don't believe me, I promise you they do. 4th season rifle tag. I had a cow tag. My son's with us. He says, hey, I want to bugle. All right, man. Pat, stop the truck. Let him bugle. We're searching for these cows, and there's like some broken meadows and whatnot. And he bugling, he's cow calling. And then I was like, man, let me see that bugle tube. That sounds pretty good. And I rip a bugle. Boom. Bull answers. Hey, let's go check this out. What do you know? He's got cows with him. So if you got a cow tag, utilize some of those bull sounds too, especially. And that was 4th season. Was it Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving. Yeah, that was when Thanksgiving was, they merged it into Thanksgiving. Okay, at this time, I know if I keep rambling and going down all these rabbit holes, oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Your barks. Your barks. If you're in the woods and you heard a bull bark at you, raise your hand. I'm telling you, when you hear that sound, it's going to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And you're going to think, game's over. Well, I'm here to tell you, game is not over quite yet, right? And that sound sounds like this. It's that cow sound, and I'm just going to blow a lot of air across it and drop my tongue off of it. Sounds like this, without the tube. And I promise you, you could try to mimic that sound as much as you can, or much as you want, but when you hear it from a real bull, he sounds way deeper than I can make it. So, you get into an area, you're solo hunter. You did exactly what I said. He called, he sounded off. You move 30 yards. He comes up to a hang-up point, but he was just too far for your shot, but he could see where you were. You probably didn't move far enough to get him to get closer to you, so you made a little rookie mistake. It's okay. So when he gets to that hang-up point, he's just not giving you that shot you need. So what he's going to do? He's saying, show yourself. I don't see any movement over here. Show yourself. Well, at that point, things are about to go downhill real quick. But you did not forget your bugle tube. You did everything that Jermaine said do, but he barked. At that point, what I want you to do is I want you to bark back at him. Bark back at him. So practicing that bark is huge, especially when you're trying to save the situation. You're going to bark back at him. It's going to sound like this. He's going to bark at you. You're going to be like, oh, snap. You hit him back. You hit him back. You hit him back and you're calming the situation. Now he's confused. He can't see you. You were back 30 yards away, but now situation changed. So he might be looking through you, can't see you. You barked and he still can't see you. He might do this. He might turn left or right, giving you the opportunity, and he might start pacing. If that doesn't work, he's probably going to bark again. When he barks again, I hit him with this. I'm telling him, I'm better than you. Now he's going to get real pissed. He's probably going to do the same thing to you. But what he's going to do, he's going to move and give you the opportunity that you need. Whether that's 50 yards and he's behind some trees, or he's frontal at 50 yards and you can't take that shot. So when he bark at you, game might not be over. The game might not be over. What I will tell you is that on the flip side of things, if that cow barks at you, Flower game's probably over. Because I've seen that go horrible, where she barked and then whoop, the whole herd leaves, right? So if she barks, best believe you better bark back. You better bark back just to calm the situation down, because the situation's probably over, really. Because she barks, they know that, they like high alert, and all I could do is calm the situation down. I didn't see the bull yet, but she just told him, I don't like something over here. Something ain't right, right? I could see over there, they're making all kinds of sound. I don't see them. This ain't right, and she alerts the herd. So bulls and cows do bark. They sound very similar. The only difference between a cow bark and a bull bark is that bull's a lot deeper than that cow. But they also do the same thing. Also, you can get those cows. You'll see those cows sometimes they try bugle sounds. They try to bugle. And that's usually that dominant cow, and she sits there, it's the craziest thing. Also, you'll hear some of those spikes, they'll bugle too, but they don't bugle as much as the other ones. They'll make some cow sounds though. They make cow sounds, and you'll be like, wow, I've never heard that come from a spike. Yeah, that spikes do talk too. All those elk are very, very vocal. At this point, I'm gonna take any questions that you could lay at me, and I'll go with you first, sir. And I'll try to answer them to the best of my knowledge, but I know we're getting close to time, so let me try to answer some of these questions, and maybe some of these questions will help you out.
So you make a bad call, what do you do? Or do you put out decoys? Do you make a bad call, what do you do?
Great question. You do not have to sound like Jermaine Hodge. You do not have to sound like Pat Trail. You definitely do not have to sound like some of these great elk hunters and great callers out there. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Every elk is different in the woods. They sound different. So if I'm making these perfect cow sounds, and I just so happen the reed breaks over or something, I'm going to try to make this thing break over. I can't make it break over. Anyways, it breaks over. It breaks over on you, right? Or you make some funky sound that sounds like a duck with your, it's okay. Maybe it didn't sound like that. Just clean it up a little bit. You do not have to be perfect in the woods. I promise you. You do not have to be perfect. But the better you are, the better your odds are, because we know, being here in Colorado, you got these OTC units that get hunted heavy. And if you're hunting OTC units, you just need to sound better than the other person that's hunting that mountain with you. That's it. That's it. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. It might not blow that whole situation. But I'm not telling you to go out here and try to sound like Duck Commander or something. Yeah, you ain't going out there doing that. But if it breaks over on you or something, you'll be just fine. You're not going to have any trouble. Yep. Do I use decoys? Sometimes, most of the time, no. And the reason why I say sometimes is we got, what's the ones that go on the bow? Predator stock. Yeah. We use it on our camera, because if that camera guy is with that shooter, and it just gives that shooter something to hide behind. I don't like it being so close to the shooter, because then if that elk comes in, he's looking dead at it. So, but if we have a different angle with the camera gear, then if the camera guy's over here trying to get it, and I'm over here, and that's probably perfectly fine, because he'll peg in on the camera guy and won't see me because of whatever reason. But for other reasons, I don't use them. I'm running gun, and I'm aggressive. I'm super aggressive, and I'm after the bulls that want to talk. The ones that come in silent, they do come in silent. The ones that come in silent, and there's been a few of them that I wanted to shoot, but I didn't shoot, and the only reason is because I didn't want to play that game. They want to play checkers, and I want to play chess. So you end up don't shooting them, or they sneak in so close and you can't even move because they came in quiet.
What about the estrus cow? How'd you do that again?
Yeah. So the extra sound, I'm using my vocal cords, and it's almost like I'm trying to clear my throat, and then I'm making that cow sound as I do it, and it sounds like this. Now, I've seen this. I wish it was on film, but it wasn't. I've seen this cow, and I'm gonna do my best mock-up of what I've seen. She is literally walking right past me, and she's doing this, and you can hear these other bulls all around just go nuts. So she's doing this as she's walking. She's and she's alerting all those bulls around that I'm ready to be checked. And as she's coming past, all these bulls are just screaming and following her. That happens during September, but they also do it year round, but it's usually that dominant herd bull that dominant cow.
I got a question for you in the sense of when you're doing the cow calls and the little calf calls, are you only doing about 5 or 6 and you're waiting, or are you like continuously doing that until you get something to respond back?
No, because you're going to get tired. You're going to get tired of doing that. You'll be like 15 minutes of cow talking and nothing. Now, what I'm trying to do is cover ground. And the reason why is if those elk are in that area and they want to play the game, they're going to sound off. I usually go probably a minute sequence. 30 seconds probably be enough. Really, 30 seconds of probably more like 15 seconds. Cow sounds, and I'm waiting a couple minutes, listening, and then I'll go into a little bit more advanced calls. And then I end it with the lip ball bugle. If they don't sound off, I'm gone. You had a question?
It was similar to that, just the cadence of, like, let's say you do have a bull sound off after, like, let's say he waits 30 seconds after you make a location bugle. You're covering distance, understand that, but let's say you're in a good setup position, he's still calling. Are you cutting the time to try to ramp up the energy or ramp up the tension? So let's say it takes 30 seconds for him to answer. Are you now cutting that in half and trying to call again to him in 15 seconds? Is there like a...
You got set up, and you're doing let's say, because this is all cold call sequence, right? We don't know if there's anything in here, and you let off some cow sounds and calf sounds, and he sounds off 3 minutes later. That's fine. He ain't really pumped up. His energy ain't through the roof yet. I'm gonna close the distance, and I'm gonna let him know I'm coming to him, but I'm gonna use cow and calf sounds. I'm only gonna use the sounds that he answered. And I'm gonna move in closer, 150, 200 yards, right? Cow and calf sounds. Listen to his tone. If it revs up, he's probably gonna come in. If it takes him 3 minutes, you're gonna have to work this bull and be patient with this bull. Don't go running up there, snap some trees, make the same sounds, no bull sounds. Snap some trees, make some sounds, some realistic elk sounds, tumble a rock down the hill, whatever. Keep it going. But know that once you make them sounds and he didn't sound off, you better know that he might be coming. So you got to be ready. And if you're hunting with a partner, your partner definitely be ready. Your partner move up a little bit and just work that bull slowly. Do not overpower him. If he gives you a wimpy bull and off the cow sounds and I stay with it, maybe you throw, and it's taking a little time, maybe you throw a wimpy bull that's with these cows, right? Nothing overpowering. Just keep it right below him or at the same level. Does that answer your question? I'm paying attention and I'm listening for the attitude change. I'm listening for the attitude change.
Will your calls change through the day from before dark to you're putting them to bed?
No, my calls do not change according to the day. It does not change according to the day. It changes according to the month and where I am in the month. As I said before, I break it down. I'm heavy with heavy bugle sounds. Not saying I don't use cow sounds. I don't use them often. Very beginning of the month, heavy bull sounds, heavy bugling. Middle of the month, for me, this is how it works for me. Middle of the month, I mix in the both. I do about a 50-50 ratio, right? Same sequence, but 50-50 ratio. I'm telling them this bull has cows. I'm the bull, and I got a few cows. I'm just painting a story for them. And at the end of the month, we ain't got no too many bulls around this herd of cows that I got that I'm making sound like, it might be 4 or 5 cows with me. But I still need to be checked. So some of them satellites will start coming in and venturing away from the bull. It's super, super hard to kill those big mature bulls, those herd bulls, the later you get in the season. And the reason being, he has a bunch of eyes with him. He has a bunch of eyes with him. So whether that herd size is 6 or 7 deep, it's only like one bull, and you got all those eyes looking at you. So maybe I throw in that calf sound because I seen a calf with them, and I bring the herd over. Real funny story real quick. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I got to tell the story. And this is why I say this. This was towards the end of the latter part of the season, and end of muzzleloader. Let's say the end of muzzleloader. Let's be fair about that because I did run into a muzzleloader. It's the end of muzzleloader season. So that's about that same time when you're heavy with cow sounds. And he said, I seen a 380 bull. I said, BS, you ain't seen no 380 bull. I've never seen a 380 bull at that time in my life. But I went back to camp. That was in the evening. I went back to camp and I said, man, was that guy actually telling the truth? You're never going to know, right? You're never going to know unless you go. So if that bull's over that hill, you're not going to know unless you go. So I said, bump it. I'm going to get up early, beat them in there. I'm going to get up high. All these bulls are going to move up high anyways. I'll be ready for them. Unfortunate thing is that them thermals are going down in the morning. So when you get up high, and if you beat them up high, then they're going to smell you when they coming up. But I know this area pretty good, and I know about where my cutoff point is or where they'll be in that particular area in the morning as light comes up. So I stop at this one little area where I'm like, I can't push it no further. I'm not going to get up any higher because I don't think these bulls are that much higher than where I am right now. So I throw out a location bugle, a cow call, location bugle down in this little drainage, nothing. I move 500 yards to the left. I'm just going to skirt this whole side of this mountain, take this big bowl, and then work my way back to the truck. Just checking to see if I can find this one magical 380. I get over there, and at the time I was using Primo's Hyperlip. It's an open reed. Sounds like this when I muffle the end of it. I did that twice. What do you know? The calf almost got me in a situation where I had a 380 on the ground. But let me tell you what happened. I called. I could hear the calf. I get behind this tree, this little big pine tree right here. I say not behind it, right beside it. Sure enough, you can hear the cow start talking. Calf is coming. The calf comes in, and I should have been at full draw already because I knew it was a bull with him because he sounded off. I said, man, I should have been at full draw. I wasn't. Cow comes 10 yards in front of me, and calf comes 10 yards. She brings mama, 3 others, and who's behind him? The big 380. I say he was probably 370 something, but the guy wasn't off, and that was the bull that he seen. The bull got beat up earlier, and that's how they seen that bull. And he only had 4 cows when he had 60. But it was latter part of the season, and I used cow sounds to make that happen. But I couldn't draw on this bull because they had me pegged. Anyways, the bull, they booger off, and the bull gets stuck between 2 aspens. I'm not lying. He's fighting, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God. He's 40 yards stuck. You could shoot him. But I was so amazed at what was going on and what happened. I didn't even draw my bow. And it was probably one of the biggest bulls I had to date in front of me. So cow and calf sounds, effective, but I play that month based off that heavy with the bull sounds, 50-50 mix ratio, and then I go heavy with cow sounds. So hopefully that answers.
I got two questions. One of them with the barking. If you're solo hunting and you get into that situation where you have a bull barking at you and you're saying to bark back, how do you make it so you don't give away exactly where you're at? And then my other question is when you incorporate like raking and doing sounds like that.
Well, to be frank with you, the raking and stuff is done a lot during the rut, right? Probably not gonna go past first season rifle with the raking, really ain't. And depends on what unit you're here in Colorado. First season rifle sometimes gets hammered with snow, and but during the rut, I'm adding that raking, that realistic sound that you don't necessarily have to know how to blow these calls to do that, right? So I'm doing the raking, I'm rolling rocks, I'm tumbling, especially when I got a herd and I'm trying to make it sound like I'm another herd getting really close to that other herd. That's very effective. Sometimes you don't even have to make any elk sound, you can just rake. So good scenario situation. He sounds off. I move in close to where I thought he was. You don't even have to make a cow sound no more. You could just break sticks and stuff and then listen. If you're close enough, he thinks you're a bull and he'll just fire off on his own. So sometimes that's very effective. And I tell you, we do it all the time. Grab a stick, break the stick. Because he's bugling at us and we're bugling at him, I'm gonna make him feel like I'm just gonna sit back here. And as I'm doing that, maybe, just maybe, I convinced that bull to come over because he thought I was another bull. Now, as far as the barking stuff, if he barked at me and I'm in a situation where I'm gonna have to bark back, I usually bark away from me. So not towards him, away from me. So he barks at me, I'm ready, I'm looking at him, I'm watching the way what he's doing. Because if I bark like this, he gonna peg me. But if I bark and it sounds like I'm over there, then it changes it. So that's when I'm trying to bark at him. Or I got something huge in front of me, which shouldn't be in front of you anyways. Should nothing be in front of you, it should be behind you or to the side of you, because you're not gonna get a shot through whatever this is in front of you. But if that happens, and you could bark into that tree or something like that, and it'd be hard because that sound's gonna echo off that tree, and it's gonna sound like it's in two different areas. So that's what I'm doing when I'm barking at them.
What would your strategy be for hunting cows, say, in September? Is it still just gonna be cow sounds?
I'm perfect, because I was asked this earlier today. Listen, nothing changes in September. I'll chase the bugles because the bugles are gonna be where the cows are. I'm not hunting the cows solo. Like, they're gonna be with the bulls or close to the bulls. So during September, if you got a cow tag, what is it, archery tag? Muzzleloader tag, perfect. Locate the bull. He'll have the cows. And if he don't have no cows, then he ain't one I need anyways. But since I'm there, I'm still gonna play the game, and I love hearing elk anyways, right? So if you hunt it like you would hunt, like you had a bull tag, you will find the cows. Yep, cover the distance, chase that bull because the cows are gonna be with him.
Late December.
Late December.
Late December, a lot of snow. Same calling?
No. Changes, dramatically it changes. Okay, so during late September, second season rifle, I got a film that's out, it's called Coach. And there's an OTC unit, and the rut was completely over. The rut's completely over. We got 15-something inches of snow, completely over. The style changes, but I still have my calls. And this is what I did when we found those bulls. That's it. All I'm doing is saying, hey, where you at? And believe it or not, you will get lucky and they will sound off and give you the location. That happened to me. If y'all get a chance, go on a hunt stand and look at that film. It's called Coach. And that's what happened. We found these bulls off of a simple location bugle. He sounded off, we moved in, and then I didn't talk to him at all because I had a rifle in my hand. I don't need to talk to you no more, especially if I got lane. Now, December, heavy with the cow sounds. I'm heavy. Location bull sound, you don't need any other lip ball, nothing like that. But cows are talking all the time, all the time. So more cow sounds when I'm doing that, but not overpowering because they talking, but they ain't talking like they are in September. So. Listen. And then maybe hit them with a, maybe you casted that cow sound this way, and maybe you just hit them with a wimpy bull. Don't drop off too deep on the back end. You just sound like a satellite 4-point hanging with them.
They should be separated about this too, right?
Ooh, the bigger bulls have left. Those smaller 4 points, that's what happened to me during that 4th season. The small 4 points are running with the cows still, believe it or not. And then they'll leave eventually later on, and spikes are always with them, always. Question?
Yeah, when you're out covering ground and stuff, so you say you throw out a call, let's say you go all the way through your deal there, you don't hear nothing back, you move, is it about, 200 yards, half a mile? What's your distance roughly before you start calling again?
Depends on the terrain. It really depends on terrain. So if I got, if I'm in a basin or something like that, and I can cast my sound to sound off over here on this side, and I feel like they can hear me, and I'm only like, as a crow flies over to the other side of the drainage, it's only like 400 yards, then I might just, circle in, make a couple more sounds, and then I'm out of there because what I've sounded off over here to over that other side of that drainage, they should have been able to hear me, but sometimes you need to be in close for them to get fired up about it. I'll leave probably 400 yards, 500 yards in between my next sound. And then there's a lot of times where this area doesn't look good to me. I'm gonna keep moving a little further before I make another sound. So mine varies. It varies on the terrain more so than anything.